In one's life, trials are to be expected. Storms and valleys, they have been called. They leave you emotionless and uninspired. But how do you survive the storm and march out of the valley? How do you feel again? This is the same problem many Americans faced after World War I. After seeing such reckless death and destruction in what was thought to be the war to end all wars, American troops returned to America with a hopeful, yearning view of the world. However, the America they came back to was more foreign than the land they fought on. American society barely even acknowledged the war. They were more interested in stocks and materialism. Social status was more valued than the complexities of human struggle. America had become an emotionally barren wasteland to those who had gone through hell and back. These men didn't need suits and mansions. They needed consolation. So they left to Paris, a city overflowing with culture, art, and philosophy. There, they wrote and came to terms with their pain through art. This generation of writers, like Ernest Hemingway and Scott Fitzgerald, among many others, are known as the missing generation. What I find so fascinating is that it was almost natural for them to go to art in a time of alienation and craving for more. But still, it's what we do, regardless if we notice it or not. Oftentimes after a bad day, we go to music, TV shows, and movies, obviously in part to escape, but also to receive comfort. Art is a very complex thing to define. There are many reasons as to why we make and engage in art. The main reason for me is to provide consolation. And I believe the film Midnight in Paris shows this beautifully.
Can you picture how drop-dead gorgeous this city is in the rain?
Gil Pender, played by Owen Wilson, is an American screenwriter who visits Paris with his fiancée and her parents. As a creative, he finds himself in love with the culture and history of the city of Paris. His fiancée, however, does not.
Why does every city have to be in the rain? What's wonderful about getting wet?
She's more focused on the things she could buy and status. Gil often feels alienated by her as she puts him down for wanting to be a novelist and for his view of the past. He yearns for the age of Paris when writers and artists were free in expressing themselves, but believes that has been lost in today's culture. He is emotionally numb and oblivious to the present. One night when he is deserted by his fiancée and her pseudo-intellectual friend, he is left alone to wander the streets of Paris. That's when at midnight, a car from the 1920s picks him up and he finds himself in the time period of the lost generation. As he's surrounded by his literary heroes, he finally feels at home. He can now engage in existential questions, critiques on art, but most importantly, he no longer feels alone in the world. He comes to the realization that the reason he feels alienated in the present isn't because times have changed, but because he is surrounded by the inauthentic and shallow world of materialism, and not what can console him, art and a community of others who need it too. In the end, he leaves a life of surface-level importance for a life in Paris with someone who values it too. In essence, this movie is not just an allegory for what happened to the last generation, but what happens to humans in general. When the world that surrounds you seems hollow and meaningless, you go to create or experience art made by another human or by something more divine. It doesn't matter if we make art or just experience it, we are doing both in hopes that we will receive consolation. Comfort in knowing we are not alone, and we aren't the only ones who see there is a problem in the world and suffer for it. That is beautiful. Art is made in darkness. It is made in the midst of the storm.
Okay, now it's starting to rain.
No, but that's okay. I don't mind getting wet.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, Paris is the most beautiful in the rain.
I feel like that's what I'm always saying. I couldn't agree more with you. Yes, it is more beautiful.